Okay, good afternoon, guys.
Thanks for being here. Certainly, coming off the bye week, a week of some really good work, getting some guys healed up a little bit. We're nursing some injuries and just really working hard as a staff to improve every aspect of our program as we head into our final home game. 27 seniors that will be honored. Conference game, most important game of the year, and the great opportunity against a really good football team that's got some good players and is very well coached. So, questions, please.
Mario, you have preached, want to know all year. Now that you're at the point in the season where that's really all you can do, is just go 1-0 this week, control your destiny by winning Saturday.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to have that approach from day one? That it's not foreign to the kids now. They've been hearing this for 11 games now. This is all you have to do this week.
Yeah, I think it'll. Any day that we're coaching, it's going to be the same thing. There's too much going on in the outside world. There's too much clutter. There's too much coverage and hype and noise to really do anything else but make sure your guys are focused on the task at hand and even streamlining it even more. The practice at hand, the meeting that you're about to walk into, the walkthrough that you're taking part in. So without a doubt, it's been emphasized. We're going to continue along the lines of that, and that's not going to change.
You said it was as close to a regular week, I guess. I'm sure you shortened it up a little bit.
Last week,
yes,
we did. We did get healed up. Some guys were banged up a little bit. I'm sure everybody's asking about Damari and Ryan Elijah Alston. Those guys are all really close. It'll be a game time decision. Feel good about them joining us either this weekend or next weekend, but they're cleared and they're practicing. So it's going to be real close and in a positive way. We want to make sure that if they're out there, they're performing at a high level, that it's not just plug-in.
Did you start on Wake earlier than you would, or is this a normal game week?
10 days out. Right. Any opponent, whether it be camp, even though you do your recon, you do all your game planning and your assessment and breakdowns early, you start actually doing the physical stuff where the team knows you're actually doing it 10 days out. We do the same thing in camp. So we do have a couple of extra days on them, and certainly it's been helpful. They're unique in a couple different ways, so it's been very helpful.
With Damari, obviously he was expecting to play a big role in this year's team, and he's been out since week one. Mm-hmm. How have you seen him kind of handle this lengthy injury, mentally, and how has he approached his rehab?
I think it's helped him come out of his shell a little bit because Damari, by nature, number one, he comes from a great family, but he's very reserved in a good way, just very focused, takes care of his business. And when you go through something like that, you find yourself, you have to be engaged in different ways. And we don't allow guys to isolate during injury time. That's the worst thing you could do for a player, is let him kind of drift off and get in his own mental space. It's never good. So you've seen him just develop just from a personality standpoint, engagement standpoint. He looks great, and he's, this is a big week for him because the reps he'll be taking and the work he'll be doing is as close to gameplay as it could possibly be. So we're working hard to get him ready. He's working hard to get himself ready. So is Ryan, and so is Elijah.
And we've talked about Xavier Restrepo all season. He's obviously climbing the leaderboards and accomplishing a lot. Having coached him for the last 3 years, this is his last home game at UM. So what do you think he's meant to the program and what this last game means to him? Well,
I think it's mutual. He means the world to the program, and the program means the world to him. He is the epitome of hard work. I think he's grown up a ton. That's the biggest thing. The maturity levels of X over the past even 8, 9, 10 months being all about team and making sure that he does everything possible to affect teammates has really been just incredibly, just awesome to watch. And obviously he's going to play a long time. He's a really good football player, but he and these other guys, they've everything that we are looking at and focus on is Wake Forest. So all the personal accolades, goals, and everything else, I think for the rest of the guys, they all take a back seat, and it'll be the theme of the press conference and everything else we do, man. We're focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's the way it should be.
To piggyback off that, just the senior class as a whole, you have guys like ex-Nanny and a few other who have been here from the start, a few guys who've been here for a couple of years, a lot of guys who transferred in this offseason. Just the senior class as a whole, how much value did they have for you guys getting to where you are this season?
Always the most valuable part. They're the core, and they have an experience that's very unique. I'm talking about the guys that have been here for a little bit. They've seen change. They've endured hardship. They've seen some tough times. They've gone through struggles. I mean, it's an education that is priceless. You really can't. You know, the class that just walked in has had a very different path and I would say educational piece to their development as compared to the ones that we're talking about. You know, the guys like Elijah Arroyo and guys of that, guys like Xavier Restrepo, guys that have been here and still, you know, some have time, some don't, but it's really unique what they've done, what they've gone through, and I think it's made them more callous in a good way. It certainly has grown their resilience and has helped others understand the importance and the urgency as it relates to every day, right? As it relates to every part of your preparation, as it relates to, you know, everything you want to know.
Most families get on the field for one senior day. Andy Borghaus' family's going to get down there for the second time. The fact that he has been so consistent for you this year, what sort of a luxury is that to know what you're going to get from your kicker more often than not?
Well, we've stated on several occasions, you know, how valuable he is. Maybe not enough, honestly. He really is. We feel he's the very best in the country. He's developed as a leader. He's really changed his body. That's one of the things that's going to propel him to, you know, having a great, you know, game on Saturday and the other games coming up and then later on in life. But yeah, a guy like that, the confidence levels in him is, you know, you almost try to test him every single week, and we do, and he comes through. So incredible young man, a lot of football to play here in 2024. So looking forward to Saturday.
How do you think the team has responded, you know, coming off that first defeat to Georgia Tech, obviously undefeated? Do you think it's kind of, you know, lit something under their behind, or kind of, you know, what's their response?
Has it lit something under their behind?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? I think we light everybody's behind the way we go and about our way here. You know, I don't think you change who you are and your approach to football. I don't think you as a coach all of a sudden, you know, want to change your intensity levels and try to be macho tough guy. We go hard and we're intense and we're physical and we don't fake. We don't like fakes. We don't like phonies. We don't like BS, you know. We like real deal people that get after it, you know what I mean? Like hard asses, part of my language. And I think this team, every member of the staff took that loss hard, you know? So without getting into any of the generic, what do you say, wake up call, you know, all those taglines and whatnot, it increases your awareness for the fact that college football is difficult, winning is difficult, and that when you have 10 games, 11 games on tape, if you have things that you need to correct and you're not all the way there, you're going to get hit on that week after week. So that's why the bye week has been so valuable. We've had time to work on communication, number one, which is critically important, alignment and assignment. You know, all those things done well provide confidence, let you play fast, let you play hard. And we've had to do a better job coaching it. I think we have. Players have done a better job learning it. I think they have. And we're looking forward to putting that to action on Saturday.
Is there value to a double bye?
I think so. I do. It's a long season. You know, it's not like the NFL. I know there's a lot of talk about roster size changes and everything else, and people say, well, the NFL has. I don't even follow the NFL. I guess it's 53-man roster,
46 on Sundays or something.
46 on Sundays and a practice roster. But if you look at the year for an NFL team, they cycle through 120 plus players. And it's ready-made players. It's players on the waiver wire, right, that have played football, that have had played multiple years of football, that understand the game, technique, fundamentals. And in college football, you don't, because 30 plus of those guys are new guys that are learning systems, that are learning processes. So it's the value of the repetition, the value of time invested, getting guys in play. Experience on your roster is it's monumental, you know. It's about as important as it gets.
Wake Forest is an older team. What type of challenge does that pose playing against a team like that?
I think it starts up front. I think they play with great technique. They play with great pad level. They're unique in their technique too. They're quick, and they, you know, the quick swim, the butt press separation, the stunning, the stemming, pre-snap stemming. get you to change your line calls, the involvement of their secondary, particularly their safeties in the run game, to change the box count, to change the leverages, to change the picture. The way they've done a really good job on the back end, taking away certain route concepts against certain teams. They're very diligent in their studies and in changing what they do week to week as it relates to opponents. Like, they really do a good job of taking away what a team does best. And they're complemented by an offense that, and they know they're top 25 in terms of moving the sticks, of getting first downs, you know? So you look at so many of their games go deep into the fourth quarter or somewhere in the fourth quarter, and it's a one-possession game. And it's due to the fact they play very good complementary football. But it starts up front, you know, and I think their defensive line, they're very well coached. They've got a couple of really disruptive players with a lot of statistical data to back that up. But what stands out to me and to our players, when you ask our players what stands out, right away they all say they play really hard. They play the game the right way.
You were 2 wins away from playing in the ACC title game for the second time in program history. What does it mean to you, to this team, and to you, knowing that you had the opportunity right in front of you?
Well, you know, we set so many goals at the beginning of the season, and I think those goals are always something that's there. It's in the background. It's a driving force. But all of our focus and all of our talk, the vibe in the building is one that's really energetic and strong as it relates to the opponent at hand. You know, I think any thought outside of that, especially if you study Miami and Miami football throughout the last 20 years, there's been opportunities heading in the latter part of the season, and for whatever reason it tailed off or didn't quite work out. So we'd like to prevent any avoidable mistakes or mishaps by making sure that we're focused on the task at hand. And right now that's tomorrow's practice in Wake Forest.
Daniel Dawson has been at Wake for 10 or 11 years now, which in college football today is like 100 years. Nobody stays in one place, it seems like, for a decade. Just, what does that say about when a guy is able to win at a non-traditional power? I mean, certainly not.
Yeah.
You can go to a place like Wake, which was a basketball school when he got there, and so many people still think of it as one, and build a pretty good program. What's that say about the job that he's done and the culture that they have there?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I had the ultimate respect for Dave Clawson. I'll tell you why. When I was a GA, Rutgers, the first interview I ever sat in on was Coach Clawson, and I was blown away by his knowledge, how articulate he was, how detailed he was, how knowledgeable he was, and watched his career just grow and take off from there. And you know, he's one of those guys that throughout the last several years has been one of those sought-after names, you know, and he's proven his commitment, loyalty to his program, not only with, you know, his tenure and whatnot, but with results. I mean, he's won some massive games there, the biggest games maybe they've ever won in program history, and they've always had great teams, and they have a good football team, you know, that's fallen short a couple times, but has been right there and capable of winning every single one of those games. So a ton of respect for him. I know him personally a little bit, but certainly his body of work speaks volumes.
Mario, I don't know if it was this year or maybe last year, you said you wanted Hard Rock to be a tough place to play, knowing that you can close it out, winning all your home games. Like, what would that mean to you to be able to get that job done?
Yeah, that's strong. You know, it'd be a strong statement. You know, you have so many goals that you talk about when the season starts, and certainly that's one of them. You always want to make your home place a tough place to play. And the beauty of it ties in directly to the ultimate goal, being 1-0 on Saturday. This one just happens to be the last one at Hard Rock. And you know what? Our fans have done a great job all year at home and away traveling. And we want to make sure that they feel it, you know, that they continue to feel tighter and a stronger bond to us, to the Miami Hurricane football program, because I think they're starting to get to know our guys. They're starting to get to know our people, our personalities. I mean, you've got local guys that have been, you know, stars in the community since they've been this tall, and you've got guys coming from all over the country that have made themselves, you know, just big names for themselves here. And they've taken in the city as much as the city's taken them in. So we're very proud to represent the city and the community. And yeah, it does. It means a ton to us, you know. But I'm just going to keep doing the same thing back to Wake Forest, you know. Good? Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you. obviously coming off the bye week, just what were some of the things that you guys worked on the most during the week?
Rest mainly, getting the guys that's played a lot of snaps, some rest, developing the next level guys, which giving those guys the majority of the reps last week, which was great. Those guys, were coming along. Development of younger guys is obviously extremely important. So you can use those weeks to give those guys a lot of reps and to really give the guys that have been playing the most a little bit of, not that they have complete time off. They're still getting reps at practice, but just kind of taking it easy on them a little bit with the amount.
Who were some of those guys, like the rotational guys who we don't see a ton on the field, who maybe impressed you the most with their progress during they had their reps in the bye week?
You talking about the younger guys?
Yeah.
I mean, all of them, none of them were like disappointing. I'm not going to sit here and point out one and not point out the other, but, I was happy with those guys, and I thought they played really well, to be honest with you.
Against Georgia Tech, offensively, that was the lowest scoring output of the year.
Yep.
Looking at that tape, is what you take away from that game. Kind of what are some things you're looking to, build off that to not make.
Well, we were bad on critical downs. Is really the story of the game. First and second down was about the same. Than we had. It was right at over 7 yards per play, which is about where we're at. If we have a really good game, it's a little more than that. We were bad on critical downs. We were 3 of 10 on third down and 1 of 4 on fourth down. We've been really good on critical downs all year. We've led the nation. And in that game, we just did some uncharacteristic things on critical downs, as far as, you can go through the list, we were 5 yards too deep on some routes. That's route discipline's part of it, we had bad eyes at quarterback on a couple of them, it's just, and I could probably put them in better situations on a couple of them. Everybody kind of goes through the checklist of blame, but we have to be better on critical downs. We knew the game went about like I knew it was going to go. I knew they were going to hold the ball, and I knew our possessions were going to be low, so our plays were going to be low. You got to take advantage of them when they're low, and we pressed a little bit and did some uncharacteristic things on critical downs that cost us.
Do you buy into, so there was that 10-minute drive, do you buy into the thinking that your offense could get out of rhythm when you're on the sideline for
we talk about just staying ready to play, but as far as out of rhythm, looking back on it, you can sit here and dissect it 20 different ways. Do I think that we pressed on offense? Yes. And do I know why? No. In games like that, you typically can press a little bit because you're not going to get a lot of opportunities. So when you're out there, you feel like I got to take advantage of it. So you end up doing some things that are uncharacteristic, instead of just playing football and making routine plays, right? And so I don't know if it had anything to do with that, to be quite honest with you, but the way the game was going and looking back on it and evaluating film, there was definitely some issues on critical downs that have not shown up through the course of the year. And so why did they show up then? I couldn't tell you, other than the fact that, I've had a Saturday to watch college football, and it looks like it's happening in a lot of places. Points are harder at the end of the year. It's just facts.
Why is that?
I think that offenses have played 10 games. Defenses are probably getting more comfortable with what they're doing. It's conference games late in the year, so the teams are more equally matched, and things mean more. You factor in everything, right? I don't know. It's just the way it is. You look across the board, and you got 20-something to 10 games. In games where those teams have been scoring 40. Now. Ultimately you got to go and score points. That's how you win games. And we had a chance at the end of the game to drive and win the game. As bad as we played on offense, we had a chance to go win the game. We just didn't take advantage of it. Couldn't get it going. So,
is that a message that you're telling your team in terms of your philosophy with, late in the season, just what you just said in the answer? Is that maybe that you have to tell your team this kind of maybe a different mentality?
No, I don't tell them that really. It's just I'm making an observation to you guys. I watched football yesterday, and it was just very, we go through what we went through Saturday, which was not fun. And then you have a chance to kind of decompress and watch college football. And, what you see is it's pretty similar across the board. And so later in the year, games are tighter, and it doesn't matter who's playing. It just doesn't. And so, you got to take advantage of opportunities. And really that game, the storyline is honestly critical. Third downs. I mean, we were bad on third down for the first time all year, and so.
How has Cam Ward responded, after loss? And then I saw he got, all the offensive linemen some change. Wonder if did you get any blame from Cam Ward?
I didn't get any change. I don't know if I deserve any change, to be quite honest with you. But he responded fine. I mean, look, Cam Ward's lost a football game before. I've lost a football game before. We all know how to respond to losing a football game. It's not the end of the world. The sun came up the next day the same way it came up every day before then, and we're going to work to get better and try to go 1-0 this week, right? And so it's unfortunate. I hate it. Obviously if I could go back in time, I would change some things, but I can't go back in time.
Understanding it is a balance for any quarterback in terms of being aggressive and taking what the defense gives you. How do you feel like that went for Cam against Georgia Tech?
I mean, obviously we made some critical mistakes at times holding on to the ball, and he knows that. And you go back and watch those clips, and the theme is just put the ball in play. And so there were obviously opportunities just to spit the ball out, but ultimately, there's other times in the game where he extends and makes great plays. So, there's always going to be the narrative of what do you want to press with, right? So you can watch film and you can be a revisionist history guy, right? Where you're like, or you can hey, look, this situation and move forward and learn from it. But also I can't discount the number of times that he's done that and it's helped us win a game. So there is a fine line there, obviously, and he understands that more than anybody, I promise you.
With Xavier Restrepo, I mean, you've coached him the last 2 years, and seen him, developed him into one of the best receivers in the nation. This is his last home game coming up on Saturday, so what do you think he means to this program and to the team in general?
I mean, look, the kid's done everything, right? I mean, he's going to leave here with every record, right? I think, is that accurate?
Receiving yards and percentage.
Yeah, and so, if you look back through the history of this place, I mean, he stands with some mountains, right? And so, and he deserves it. He's worked his tail off. He stayed extremely consistent. You look at his career, and there was a lot of things that changed. And some kids handle change well, and some kids don't handle change well. He's had coordinator changes. He's had head coaching changes. He's had quarterback changes. And he's kind of weathered it all, and he stayed pretty consistent to who he was. And regardless of who's throwing the ball or who's calling the plays, he's just been extremely consistent, and he's a gritty kid that deserves everything he gets because he's a typical kid that wears that chip on his shoulder from not getting the whatever he thought he deserved coming out of high school and all the other stuff. And so you love to see that with kids like him.
Well, and I'm sure you're going to get calls in the offseason from NFL teams about him. Just what would you tell him? Like you said, he doesn't have the outstanding physical traits that teams look for. What would you tell him about him?
I would say that if he's on your team in camp, he's going to be on your team when the season starts. It's going to be hard to cut him because he's going to work hard every day. He's going to make plays. He might not look a certain way. He might not run a 40 the way you typically or want him to run. But if he's on your squad day one, he's going to be hard to cut because he's going to be that guy every day. He's going to make plays, and it's going to be hard.
Anything else for Coach Dawson? Awesome. Thanks,
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Can't be happy.
A few weeks, out from that Georgia Tech loss, just, watching that film, just what do your comments and thoughts?
A lot of thoughts. Really dove into a lot of things throughout the last 4 games, I guess, because we had 6 games, then we had a open date, then we had 4, then we have open dates. So you always kind of relook at things, and they had a good game plan. We didn't get adjusted quick enough. I still think it came down to a couple third downs, especially some third and longs. I think if we could have got off the field and gave our offense another opportunity, I think we'd have came through. But that's how it is. It's football. Go on to the next one, 1-0 mentality.
Was it more physical? Was it mental? Was it?
It's a little bit of everything, a little bit of scheme. I thought they had a really good plan. You can tell they used their open week wisely, and so they did a good job. And we didn't do some things well, and we didn't adjust like we needed to. I didn't adjust like I needed to. So it's a little bit of everybody. And when you lose a game, it's usually on everybody, and I was a big part of it, just like everybody else.
And what about the physical pounding? Kind of in that game, 270 yards rushing.
They ran 50 times, and it really became an option offense is when you really look at it. They got in a lot of empty sets and was motioning, and then you had to account for the quarterback with some counter stuff. So it really became like an option offense when you really looked at it. So it wasn't as much pounding. They didn't really knock our defensive line off the ball. We didn't fit gaps at times that we needed to, and they had a good plan. It was really good.
Different than what they had done earlier in the year?
Yeah, they didn't get any empty stuff. They got any empty. Most of the times when they were in empty, they threw the ball, and they started motioning guys in the backfield, made it a run offense, and it was a good job by them. Really was.
Just with a bye week after that type of form, just the give and take between. Obviously, the guys probably want to just get on the field, get ready for the next game, and correct it versus having to sit on it, but having a chance to make the adjustments. Just the give and take of a bye week after a performance like that.
Yeah, it's always good after a game like that. You want to jump into another game, but I think we needed a bye week at that time. I really do. So we looked at a lot of things. We looked at that game, but we looked at other plays. We looked at other third down situations that maybe we didn't do well in, and just the other games, constant things that happened to us. And you always do that in open week and try to get better at what you do and maybe scheme things a little differently and just work on all the things that you see, that other people are seeing.
Can you go into where the breakdown was on that 3rd and 18 in particular?
Without giving too much information, it was just a miscommunication is all it was.
Okay.
That was a big one right there. That was the one if we had back, I think it'd been a little different because field position, just all those things, but that was a big one.
Mario said that, during over the course of the last, since the Georgia Tech game, I guess 2 weeks or a week, they worked a lot on communication, like that, alignment, things like that. Just how do you go about that? Because it's been, you're 11 weeks into the season. How do you, what can you do?
You just keep, whether it's hand gestures, just keeping the guys just talking and making sure you over communicate. Sometimes you can communicate things, but if they don't give you a signal back, you really don't know if they got it or not. So just some of those things, and we got to do a better job as coaches making sure that we implement those things. So when it's always a coach, it's a player scheme. It always is. You're either not coaching it well enough, did the player not do what you asked him to do? And if he didn't, is he capable of, or you ask him to do something that he can't do, or did he just not perform? So it's a little bit of both, a little bit of all, tell you the truth. So you got to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, how can we get this fixed? How do we do it? Do we do it through scheme? Do we coach it better? Do we just take it out? So kind of those things.
And how did you evaluate the safety play so far this year? I feel like Jaden and Mish, they both had some really good moments. Mish had a bunch of picks. They've had some miscommunications and some issues on back end there. How did you evaluate that going into
like you said, kind of up and down. So when they're good, they're really good, and I got a lot of confidence in them. We played Zaquan a little bit the other day. Probably get some of Markeith back going a little bit. So just keep getting those guys in good positions, and I got to do my job making sure they're in good positions and we're communicating well.
They opened the game with 2 big runs up the middle. They got Haynes. Was it something they saw, or we just didn't match their intent?
Nah, they didn't. They cut us out of the defense, so they got in a They got an unbalanced look, they motioned a guy, and when they ran the counter, it was a counter play, and they pulled the guard tackle, and we got underneath the first puller. We didn't get underneath the next puller, and then the edge guy got blocked by a tight end that was flexed out. So he kind of got us cut out. Anytime you're in split coverage and the ball hits through the middle, that's what's going to happen. So if you got a post safety, you probably stop it around 10, 12. But when you're in split safety, that can happen to you. So we just got cut out of the play. And, it was good play by them, bad by us.
What do you think's been the issue with red zone defense and conference play, touchdowns, and then has that been a point of emphasis to cut that?
Yeah, you always do. You always look at what people are doing, and when they get down there, are they seeing man coverage? Are they seeing zone with different things? I thought we played the screen really well. We came and we slipped. We had Kiko there to make that tackle, and we slipped on the turf right there. So I think we could have held him on that third down. So it could be a variety of things. Sometimes people got a good scheme down there. It's hard in the red zone, but you got to try to force field goals. You know, that's the big thing you need. You need to try to force field goals down there. So just keep looking at what you're doing and you try to match what they're doing, what you're seeing on film.
Does the mental aspect of what you guys are doing on defense change a lot week to week?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
So like, you know, this deep into the season, does the confusion, the communication make sense?
Most of the confusion is by what they're doing. It's really the different pictures that they're seeing with their eyes. So when they see things that maybe they hadn't seen before, that's what's kind of confusing us a little bit. So it's just the different pictures that they're seeing. But we try to stay as on track as we can, but at the same time, you try to adjust so where, you know, you can kind of fool them a little bit, but you want to make sure you know what you're doing. So it's a balancing act a little bit, you know, in there, but we just got to do a better job.
It's easy to, you know, focus on all the negative stuff the past few weeks, but anything positive that you're taking away from, you know, your defensive performance?
Last week wasn't a lot, the other week, but, you know, toward the end of games, I thought we've done well of adjusting, you know. A lot of times we go into a game and we're not seeing what we worked on, and I think we finally get it figured out around the second or third quarter, somewhere up in there, and then we make a good push at the end, and it's been enough, but we got to get things started a little quicker and just kind of go through our rules, plays, and just need to restart. You know, we played really well early on the season, then we had a little bit of lull, and we need to kick back up again, because in this time of the season is where a few mistakes end up being big mistakes, you know, and at crucial moments. So we got to play well when it's on the line.
Cristobal has said to us, Damari, Elijah, maybe back within the next 2 games, right? What type of boost would they bring whenever they're good to go?
Be nice. Be really nice.
Elijah in particular, like what is missing him meant in terms of like what you do or want to do?
Good pass rusher, good dropper, understands, you know, defense. You know, he's just an extra piece to it, along with Damari. You know, when you don't have those guys, you've got to supplement other guys, and you can maybe do different things. So, yeah.
Dave Clawson's kind of famous for running that slow mesh.
Oh, man.
What makes that play like effective? What makes it effective?
Well, it's a variety of things. You know, the running back's really good. He sees things. He can jump cut at the last second when you think he got him bottled up. And then the quarterback will pull it and throw it over the top. So, you know, you got to get your hands up and you got to do things like that. But they kind of do things to kind of prevent you from playing some zone stuff. But you got to mix it up, of course, you know, because they want to suck up all the linebackers into it and try to throw the ball over their head. So you got to try to get pressure on it. You got to stop the run first, you know, but it's tough what they do. You know, it gives them a chance. You know, every team has a different deal that, you know, that they have, but I think that really gives them a chance in what they do with the players they have.
You have to like basically like bang into the linebackers' heads like.
I don't know what we gonna do, man. Come on, bro. It's a little different.
You rotated in a lot of depth linebackers last game. How did those guys? Did anyone flash in particular to you, or?
I think Jalen probably had one of his better games. You know, I thought he played well. Wesley had to play more Sam Backer, of course, so we'll keep rotating some guys. Bobby Pruitt played. We planned on playing Washington a little bit, but he kind of got hurt a little bit. But we'll keep using those guys and keep building depth with them, of course. And I think we're getting a little bit healthier at D-line as well. So, well, we'll see how healthy we can get down the stretch, you know.
Edge setters right now in the D-line?
All of them. Nah, you know, Bang coming back's been really good, you know, so they all do different things well, you know. Some guys are better at rushing the passer, some are better against the run. So we're working on what they're good at and try to build up on what they're not good at, but we'll get better this week. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.